For years, the Zarthraxian Empire had viewed Earth as a prime target for their exploitative schemes. The planet's abundant natural resources, from precious metals to rare isotopes, were highly coveted by the alien race. But what truly piqued their interest was Earth's rapidly advancing technology, particularly in the field of renewable energy and directed energy weapons. The Zarthraxians, a ruthless and calculating species, had amassed an extensive galactic empire through a combination of cunning trade negotiations and the occasional use of military force. They would typically arrive at a planet, make extravagant promises of technological and economic prosperity, and then systematically strip the world of its most valuable resources, leaving the native population impoverished and dependent on the Zarthraxian overlords. However, when the Zarthraxian scouts first observed Earth, they were struck by the sheer determination and resilience of the human race. Unlike the docile populations they had encountered on other worlds, the humans exhibited a fierceness and ingenuity that the aliens had not anticipated. The Zarthraxians watched with growing unease as Earth's nations came together, pooling their resources and technological expertise to rapidly advance their capabilities. The breakthrough moment came when Dr. Emily Williams, a brilliant scientist and the head of the Global Energy Research Initiative, unveiled her team's latest creation, a prototype of a revolutionary plasma cannon. This directed energy weapon, powered by a groundbreaking fusion reactor, could unleash devastating concentrated beams of superheated plasma, capable of piercing even the most advanced Zarthraxian shielding. The Zarthraxian leadership, sensing that their usual tactics of intimidation and coercion would not work on this determined species, convened a secret council to discuss their next course of action. After much debate, they decided to take a more aggressive approach, hoping to overwhelm the humans before they could fully harness the power of their new energy weapons. The decision made, the Zarthraxian Armada, consisting of dozens of heavily armed and shielded cruisers, set a course for Earth. Their commander, a seasoned military strategist named Seloth, was confident that his forces could crush the human defenders and seize control of the planet's valuable resources. As the alien ships entered Earth's orbit, the world's governments braced for the impending confrontation. Diplomatic channels had been exhausted, with the Zarthraxians refusing to back down from their demands. The only option left was to stand and fight. Dr. Williams, having played a crucial role in the development of Earth's energy-based defenses, was now at the forefront of the global effort to repel the alien invaders. She knew that the fate of her homeworld rested on the success of her team's creations, and she was determined to ensure that the Zarthraxians would meet their match. Addressing a gathering of the world's top military and scientific leaders, Dr. Williams outlined her plan. She proposed the deployment of a network of strategically placed plasma cannons, electromagnetic pulse emitters, and particle beam projectors, all powered by a series of advanced fusion reactors that her team had been working tirelessly to construct. These energy weapons, Dr. Williams proclaimed, will give us the power to stand against the Zarthraxian invaders. Their ships, while formidable, are not designed to withstand the concentrated bursts of plasma and electromagnetic energy that we can now unleash. If we coordinate our efforts, we can create a defense grid that will shatter their fleet and send them fleeing back to the depths of space. The assembled leaders, initially skeptical of the plan's feasibility, were quickly won over by the sheer conviction and scientific expertise that Dr. Williams exuded. They immediately set to work, mobilizing their respective nations' resources and personnel to support the construction and deployment of the energy weapon network. As the Zarthraxian Armada continued its approach, the world's nations united in a way they had never done before. Rivalries and tensions were set aside, as everyone recognized the gravity of the situation and the need for a coordinated global response. The stage was now set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but potentially the entire Milky Way galaxy. The Zarthraxians, confident in their superior technology and military might, had no idea of the fierce determination and ingenuity that awaited them. As the Zarthraxian Armada loomed ever closer, The tension on Earth reached a fever pitch. Zelov, the commander of the alien forces, made no attempt to conceal this confidence. He had witnessed the capitulation of countless civilizations before, and he had no doubt that the humans would quickly fold under the threat of his overwhelming firepower. Hailing the nations of the world, Zelov delivered his ultimatum in a voice dripping with arrogance. People of Earth, I am Zelov, commander of the Zarthraxian Armada. Your planet has caught the eye of our empire, and we have determined that your advanced energy technologies and resources would be of great value to us. You have a choice. Surrender these technologies immediately, or face the total annihilation of your species. The global leaders, gathered in an emergency summit, listened to Zelov's demands with a mixture of fear and resolve. They knew that capitulating to the Zarthraxians would condemn their world to a fate worse than destruction, perpetual subjugation, and exploitation at the hands of the alien overlords. It was in this moment that Dr. Emily Williams stepped forward, her eyes burning with a fierce determination. Commander Zelov, your demands are unacceptable. The people of Earth have worked tirelessly to develop these technologies, not to serve your empire, but to improve the lives of our own citizens. We will not surrender what is rightfully ours, nor will we allow you to subjugate our world. Zelov let out a chilling laugh. Your defiance is admirable, human, but it is also foolish. Our weapons are vastly superior to anything your primitive civilization has ever encountered. If you refuse to comply, we will reduce your cities to ash and your population to dust. Then so be it, Dr. Williams responded, her voice unwavering. We have prepared for your arrival. Zelov, if you choose to attack us, you will find that Earth is far from the easy conquest you expect. With that, the emergency summit was adjourned, and the world's nations began the final preparations for the impending battle. Dr. Williams and her team worked around the clock, fine-tuning the energy weapon systems and ensuring that the global defense grid was ready to withstand the Zarthraxian onslaught. As the alien armada drew closer, the skies above Earth's major cities came alive with a dazzling display of power. Plasma cannons, their barrels glowing with barely contained energy, stood ready to unleash their fury. Electromagnetic pulse emitters, built to disrupt the Zarthraxians' advanced technology, charged their capacitors, and towering particle beam projectors, capable of slicing through even the thickest of armor, aligned their targeting systems. The world held its breath, waiting for the moment when the Zarthraxians would make their move. Zelov, growing increasingly impatient, finally gave the order to attack. Dozens of massive cruisers, their hulls bristling with weapons, opened fire on the planet below. But as the first volley of energy beams and missiles streaked toward their targets, they were met with a wall of plasma and electromagnetic energy. The human defense grid, coordinated by Dr. Williams and her team, unleashed a devastating counterattack, intercepting the Zarthraxian barrage and sending it careening harmlessly back into space. Zelov's eyes widened in shock as he watched his ships taking heavy damage from the powerful energy bursts. Impossible, he roared. Their weapons cannot be this advanced. Dr. Williams, observing the battle from a command center deep underground, allowed herself a small smile. You underestimated us. Zelov, this is not the helpless planet you thought you would find. Welcome to the new age of human innovation and technology. The battle raged on, with the Zarthraxians desperately trying to break through the human defenses. But every time they launched an attack, the energy weapon systems responded with a coordinated, devastating counterattack. Plasma beams sliced through the alien ship shields, while electromagnetic pulses disrupted their targeting and navigation systems. As the tide of the battle turned against them, the Zarthraxians began to panic. Zelov, his confidence now shaken, barked orders to his fleet, desperately trying to regroup and find a weakness in the human defenses. But Dr. Williams and her team were one step ahead. They had anticipated the Zarthraxians' tactics and had prepared countermeasures to address every potential threat. The energy weapon network, a testament to human ingenuity and determination, continued to repel the alien invaders, slowly but surely pushing them back. It was a battle unlike any the world had ever seen, a clash between the advanced but arrogant Zarthraxian Empire and the resilient, technologically empowered people of Earth. And at the heart of it all was Dr. Emily Williams, the brilliant scientist whose vision and leadership had helped humanity stand its ground against the cosmic extortionists. As the sun began to set on the first day of the battle, the Zarthraxian fleet, battered and demoralized, began a hasty retreat. Seloth, his once unshakable confidence shattered, could only watch in disbelief as his armada fled the scene, leaving behind a world that had proven itself far more than just a target for exploitation. The retreat of the Zarthraxian armada was met with a mixture of relief and resolve across the nations of Earth. While the initial battle had gone in humanity's favor, the global leaders knew that this was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Dr. Emily Williams convened an emergency meeting with the world's top scientific and military minds. She understood that the Zarthraxians would not give up easily, and that Earth needed to be prepared for an even greater onslaught in the days and weeks to come. "Gentlemen, ladies," Dr. Williams began, her voice commanding the attention of the assembled group. "We have dealt the Zarthraxians a significant blow, but we cannot afford to rest on our laurels. They will be back, and in greater force. We must use this time to strengthen our defenses and develop new technologies that will give us an even greater advantage." The room erupted in a flurry of discussion, with each representative offering their own ideas and insights. Some proposed expanding the global network of energy weapon systems, while others suggested exploring new avenues of research, such as advanced shielding or long-range interception capabilities. Dr. Williams listened intently, her mind racing as she synthesized the various proposals. She knew that time was of the essence, and that any misstep could have catastrophic consequences for the entire planet. "I believe the key to our success lies in the further development and refinement of our energy-based technologies," Dr. Williams announced, silencing the room. "The plasma cannons, electromagnetic emitters, and particle beam projectors have proven their effectiveness, but we must push the boundaries of what is possible." The scientists and military leaders nodded in agreement, recognizing the wisdom in Dr. Williams' words. They had witnessed firsthand the devastation that the energy weapons had wrought upon the Zarthraxian fleet, and they were eager to see what other marvels the brilliant scientist and her team could devise. To that end, Dr. Williams continued, "I propose that we establish a dedicated research and development facility, one that will bring together the finest minds from around the world to collaborate on these crucial projects." The idea was met with enthusiasm, and the leaders immediately set to work, allocating resources and personnel to support the initiative. Within a matter of weeks, the Global Energy Research Initiative, GERI, was established, with Dr. Williams at its helm. GERI's laboratories, hidden deep underground and shielded from prying eyes, became a hive of activity. Scientists from diverse backgrounds, physicists, engineers, computer specialists, and more, worked tirelessly, driven by a shared sense of purpose and the knowledge that the fate of the world hung in the balance. Breakthroughs came in rapid succession as the researchers pushed the limits of their respective fields. New plasma formulations were developed, capable of generating even hotter and more destructive beams. Electromagnetic emitters were refined, able to disrupt enemy systems with greater precision and intensity. And the particle beam projectors were enhanced, their firing rates and targeting capabilities dramatically improved. As the Zarthraxians regrouped and prepared for their next assault, Dr. Williams and her team were ready. They had not only reinforced the existing energy weapon network, but had also developed a series of mobile rapid deployment systems that could be quickly dispatched to strategic locations around the globe. The world's nations, once again united under the banner of the GERI initiative, worked tirelessly to mass-produce these new energy-based defenses. Factories ran around the clock, churning out plasma cannons, electromagnetic emitters, and particle beam projectors by the thousands. When the Zarthraxian Armada finally returned, it was met with an even more formidable and coordinated human response. The energy weapon systems, now bolstered by the latest advancements, unleashed a devastating barrage that overwhelmed the alien invaders. Ziloth, his earlier confidence now replaced by a growing sense of dread, watched helplessly as his ships were systematically destroyed by the relentless onslaught of plasma, electromagnetic, and particle beam attacks. The Zarthraxian commander realized, to his horror, that the humans had not only matched his forces, but had surpassed them in technological prowess. As the battle raged on, Dr. Williams and her team continued to refine and adapt their energy-based defenses, seamlessly integrating new capabilities and tactics to counter the Zarthraxians' every move. The alien invaders, once so sure of their victory, found themselves increasingly outmaneuvered and outgunned by the determined spirit and ingenuity of the human race. It was a battle for the ages, a clash of civilizations that would ultimately decide the fate of the entire galaxy. And at the center of it all stood Dr. Emily Williams, the brilliant and resolute leader whose vision and leadership had transformed the course of human history. The skies above Earth's major cities crackled with energy as the second Zarthraxian assault began. Ziloth, the alien commander, had regrouped his forces and was determined to overwhelm the human defenses with a massive show of firepower. From their command centers, Dr. Emily Williams and her GERI team monitored the battle closely, their hands flying across the control panels as they directed the global energy weapon network. They knew that this confrontation would be the decisive moment, a clash that would determine the future of their world. All stations, prepare for incoming enemy fire. Dr. Williams barked into the communications channel. Remember your training and don't let them break through our defenses. Across the globe, the operators of the plasma cannons, electromagnetic pulse emitters, and particle beam projectors tensed, their fingers poised over the firing controls. They had been drilled relentlessly, preparing for this very moment, and they were ready to put their skills to the ultimate test. As the Zarthraxian cruisers unleashed their devastating barrage, the human defenses sprang into action. Brilliant beams of plasma lanced out, intercepting the alien energy weapons and sending them spiraling off course. Pulsing electromagnetic bursts disrupted the Zarthraxians' targeting and navigation systems, leaving their ships vulnerable. Ziloth, his eyes narrowing in concentration, directed his forces to focus their firepower on the most critical energy weapon systems. But for every cannon or emitter that was destroyed, two more rose up to take its place, their operators undaunted by the relentless onslaught. "They're trying to overwhelm us with sheer numbers," Dr. Williams observed, her brow furrowed in concentration. "But our energy networks are proving to be more resilient than they anticipated." Suddenly, a barrage of particle beams lanced out, slicing through the hulls of several Zarthraxian cruisers with devastating precision. Ziloth let out a roar of fury as he watched his ships being torn apart, their occupants doomed to the cold void of space. "Intensify the particle beam attacks," Dr. Williams commanded, her voice laden with a sense of triumph. "Target their engines and weapon systems. We need to cripple their ability to maneuver and fight back." The particle beam projectors, their power sources fed by the advanced fusion reactors developed by GERI, unleashed a relentless barrage that tore through the Zarthraxian defenses. One by one, the alien ships began to falter, their shields overwhelmed by the sheer destructive force of the human energy weapons. Ziloth, his confidence quickly turning to desperation, ordered a full-scale retreat. But as his remaining vessels attempted to flee, they were met with a wall of plasma and electromagnetic energy that cut off their escape. "They're not going anywhere, Ziloth," Dr. Williams said, a grim smile playing on her lips. "Your extortionist schemes end here. This is for the people of Earth." With a final, desperate salvo, the Zarthraxian commander tried to break through the human defenses, but his efforts were in vain. The energy weapon network, coordinated by Dr. Williams and her team, responded with a devastating counterattack that crippled the alien fleet. Sealoth watched in horror as his armada was reduced to a scattered collection of damaged and disabled ships. His grand plans for conquest and exploitation had been shattered by the resilience and technological prowess of the human race. As the Zarthraxian vessels limped away, their retreat punctuated by explosions and the desperate cries of their crew, a cheer went up from the people of Earth. They had stood firm against the alien invaders, and they had emerged victorious. In the aftermath of the battle, Dr. Williams and her GERI team were hailed as heroes. The world's leaders showered them with accolades and resources, recognizing the crucial role they had played in defending the planet. But for Dr. Williams, the true reward was the knowledge that her work had made a difference, that the energy weapon systems she and her team had developed had saved countless lives. She knew that the battle was far from over, that the Zarthraxians would undoubtedly return with an even greater force. But she was confident that with the continued support and collaboration of the global community, they would be ready. As the cleanup and recovery efforts began, Dr. Williams turned her attention to the next phase of their defense strategy. She knew that they could not simply rely on the existing energy weapon network. They needed to push the boundaries of what was possible, to develop even more advanced and powerful technologies that would give humanity the upper hand in the ongoing conflict. With a determined glint in her eye, Dr. Williams assembled her team and began outlining the next steps in their plan. The Zarthraxians had underestimated the human race, and she was determined to ensure that they would never make that mistake again. As the Zarthraxian fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, its commander, Xeloth, was consumed by a mixture of disbelief and rage. How could these primitive humans have managed to repel his mighty armada with such devastating effectiveness? Sealoth had spent decades carefully cultivating the Zarthraxian Empire's reputation for military might and technological superiority. His forces had subjugated countless civilizations, stripping them of their resources and leaving them powerless to resist. The very idea that a backwater planet like Earth could stand up to the full might of the Zarthraxians was almost incomprehensible to him. Yet, as he reviewed the battle data, the evidence was irrefutable. The human energy weapon systems had proven to be remarkably resilient and powerful, capable of inflicting crippling damage on even the most advanced Zarthraxian ships. Sealoth's carefully laid plans had been shattered, his forces routed and forced into a humiliating retreat. The Zarthraxian commander paced the bridge of his flagship, his clawed hands clenched in frustration. He knew that he could not return to the Zarthraxian High Command empty-handed. The loss of this battle would be seen as a grave failure, one that could jeopardize his standing and even his life. Impossible, Sealoth growled, his eyes narrowing in concentration. There must be a way to break through their defenses. These humans cannot be allowed to defy the might of the Zarthraxian Empire. Summoning his most trusted advisors, Sealoth began to formulate a new strategy. He would not underestimate the humans again. This time, he would bring the full force of the Zarthraxian military to bear, overwhelming their energy weapon network and seizing control of the planet's valuable resources. "We will return to Earth with an even greater fleet," Sealoth announced, his voice filled with a sense of renewed determination. "And we will not rest until the humans have been crushed beneath our might. Their energy weapons may have been able to withstand our initial assault, but they will not be able to withstand the full fury of the Zarthraxian Empire." The Zarthraxian advisors, sensing their commander's renewed confidence, quickly set to work, coordinating the mobilization of a massive reinforcement fleet. They would leave no stone unturned in their quest to subjugate the human race and claim Earth's resources for the glory of the Zarthraxian Empire. Back on Earth, Dr. Emily Williams and her GERI team were closely monitoring the retreat of the Zarthraxian armée. They knew that this respite would be short-lived, that the alien invaders would undoubtedly return with even greater force. "They won't give up easily," Dr. Williams said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We've dealt them a significant blow, but they'll be back, and we need to be ready." The global leaders, emboldened by the success of the energy weapon network, immediately threw their support behind Dr. Williams and her team. Funding and resources poured in from every corner of the world, allowing GERI to expand its operations and accelerate the development of even more advanced energy-based technologies. "We need to be one step ahead of them," Dr. Williams declared, addressing the assembled scientists and engineers. "They'll be coming at us with everything they've got, and we need to be ready to meet that challenge head-on." The GERI laboratories hummed with activity as the researchers worked tirelessly, pushing the boundaries of their respective fields. New plasma formulations were developed, capable of generating even hotter and more destructive beams. Electromagnetic emitters were refined, able to disrupt enemy systems with greater precision and intensity. And the particle beam projectors were enhanced, their firing rates and targeting capabilities dramatically improved. As the days turned into weeks, the global defense grid grew stronger and more resilient. Factories churned out plasma cannons, electromagnetic emitters, and particle beam projectors by the thousands, ensuring that the world's cities were protected by an ever-expanding network of energy-based defenses. Dr. Williams, her confidence buoyed by the unwavering support of the global community, knew that they were ready. The Zarthraxians might have underestimated the human race the first time, but they would not make that mistake again. "When they come back," Dr. Williams said, her eyes burning with a fierce determination, "we'll be waiting for them. And this time, we'll show them the true power of the human spirit." As the Zarthraxian reinforcements gathered in the depths of space, the people of Earth braced themselves for the looming confrontation. They knew that the fate of their world hung in the balance, but they were more than ready to defend their home and their way of life. The stage was set for the decisive battle that would determine the future of the entire galaxy. The skies above Earth crackled with energy as the Zarthraxian reinforcements arrived, their massive fleet of cruisers and battleships blotting out the stars. Vsilov, the alien commander, had returned with a vengeance, determined to crush the human defenses and seize control of the planet's valuable resources. From her command center deep beneath the surface, Dr. Emily Williams monitored the situation with a keen eye. She knew that this was the moment they had been preparing for, the ultimate test of the energy weapon network and the ingenuity of the human race. "All units, report in," Dr. Williams commanded, her voice calm and steady. "I want a full status update on our defensive capabilities." One by one, the operators of the plasma cannons, electromagnetic emitters, and particle beam projectors responded, relaying the readiness of their respective systems. Dr. Williams listened intently, her fingers flying across the control panels as she assessed the situation. "We're at full strength and ready to engage," she announced, her expression resolute. "Whatever the Zarthraxians throw at us, we'll be ready to meet it head-on." As the alien ships began their assault, the global defense grid sprang into action. Brilliant beams of plasma lanced out, intercepting the Zarthraxian energy weapons and sending them spiraling off course. Pulsing electromagnetic bursts disrupted the alien ships' targeting and navigation systems, leaving them vulnerable to the barrage of particle beam attacks. Vsilov, his eyes narrowing in concentration, directed his forces to focus their firepower on the most critical energy weapon systems. But for every cannon or emitter that was destroyed, two more rose up to take its place, their operators undaunted by the relentless onslaught. "They're trying to overwhelm us with sheer numbers," Dr. Williams observed, her brow furrowed in concentration. "But our defenses are proving more resilient than they anticipated." The battle raged on, with both sides employing ever more sophisticated energy-based tactics. The Zarthraxians, desperate to maintain their grip on the galaxy, threw everything they had at the human defenders. But the ingenuity and adaptability of Dr. Williams and her team proved to be the decisive factor. As the fight progressed, the GERI scientists continued to refine and improve the energy weapon systems, introducing new capabilities that caught the Zarthraxians off guard. Plasma beams grew hotter and more focused, slicing through the alien ships' hulls with ease, Electromagnetic pulses became more precise, disrupting critical systems and leaving the Zarthraxian vessels vulnerable. Zeloth, his confidence slowly giving way to a growing sense of desperation, ordered his forces to change tactics. They began to employ advanced countermeasures, trying to neutralize the human defenses through a combination of electronic warfare and heavy bombardment. But the GERI team had anticipated such a move, and they were ready. Particle beam projectors, their firing rates increased tenfold, unleash a relentless barrage that tore through the Zarthraxian shielding and armor. Electromagnetic emitters, synchronized with the plasma cannons, created a devastating feedback loop that crippled the alien ship systems. As the battle raged on, the skies above Earth were lit up by an ever-intensifying display of energy-based firepower. The Zarthraxians, once so confident in their superiority, found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer technological prowess of the human defenders. Zeloth, his frustration mounting, ordered his remaining ships to fall back and regroup. But the GERI energy weapon network, now operating at peak efficiency, refused to let the alien fleet escape. Plasma beams and particle bursts pursued the retreating Zarthraxians, inflicting even more damage and forcing them to scatter. "They're on the run," one of the GERI operators shouted, his voice laced with triumph. "We've broken their formation." Dr. Williams allowed herself a small smile, her eyes never leaving the tactical displays. She knew that this was only a temporary respite, that the Zarthraxians would undoubtedly return with an even greater force. But for now, the human race had proven its resilience and technological prowess, standing firm against the cosmic extortionists who had dared to threaten their home. As the Zarthraxian ships disappeared from view, the people of Earth erupted in a roar of celebration. The energy weapon network had once again proven its worth, protecting the planet from the alien invaders and solidifying humanity's place as a force to be reckoned with in the vast expanse of the galaxy. Dr. Williams, surrounded by her team of dedicated scientists and engineers, basked in the glow of their hard-won victory. But she knew that the battle was far from over. The Zarthraxians would not give up easily, and they would need to continue pushing the boundaries of what was possible if they were to secure the future of their world. With a renewed sense of purpose, Dr. Williams turned her attention to the next phase of their defense strategy, already mapping out the upgrades and enhancements that would give them the edge in the battles to come. As the Zarthraxian ships retreated from Earth's orbit, battered and demoralized, Zeloth's frustration had reached a boiling point. The human defenses, powered by their advanced energy weapon systems, had proven to be far more resilient and formidable than he had ever anticipated. Pacing the bridge of his flagship, Zeloth replayed the battle footage, his clawed hands clenched in rage. How could these primitive beings have managed to thwart the might of the Zarthraxian Empire? He had underestimated them once, and it had cost him dearly. He would not make that mistake again. "We cannot allow this insult to stand," Zeloth growled, his eyes narrowing as he turned to his subordinates. "Summon the best scientific and military minds in the Empire. We will devise a plan to crush these humans once and for all." The Zarthraxian advisors, sensing their commander's mounting fury, quickly set to work. They knew that failure was not an option. Zeloth's wrath was the stuff of legends, and they had no desire to incur his full wrath. As the elite Zarthraxian strategists convened, they pored over the battle data, searching for any weakness they could exploit. They studied the human energy weapon systems, trying to understand the underlying principles that made them so effective. After days of intense deliberation, they emerged with a daring yet risky plan. "We believe we have found a way to overwhelm the human defenses," one of the advisors announced, his voice tinged with a hint of uncertainty. Zeloth's eyes gleamed with a savage light. "Explain." The advisor cleared his throat nervously. "We propose a concentrated assault, using our most advanced ships and weapons. We will converge our firepower on the human energy weapon hubs, attempting to overload and destroy their systems." Zeloth nodded, his confidence slowly returning. "And what of their plasma cannons?" electromagnetic emitters, and particle beam projectors. Surely they will be able to defend against such an attack. Another advisor stepped forward, his expression grim. That is where the risk lies. We believe we can disrupt the human energy weapon network by employing a devastating electromagnetic pulse, followed by a barrage of plasma and particle beam attacks. The goal is to cripple their defenses before they can respond. Tsiloff considered the plan, weighing the potential rewards against the risks. He knew that failure would be catastrophic, not just for his own reputation, but for the entire Zarthraxian Empire. But the lure of victory, of finally breaking the human resistance, was too tempting to ignore. "Very well," Tsiloff declared, his voice filled with a renewed sense of purpose. "Assemble the fleet. We will strike at the heart of the human defenses and show them the true might of the Zarthraxian Empire." Back on Earth, Dr. Emily Williams and her GERI team were closely monitoring the Zarthraxian movements. They had anticipated that the alien invaders would return, and they were more than ready to meet the challenge. "They're amassing a massive fleet," one of the GERI scientists reported, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It looks like they're preparing for a concentrated assault." Dr. Williams nodded, her mind racing as she considered their options. "Then we'll be ready for them. Initiate the emergency defense protocols and put all units on high alert. I want every energy weapon system fully charged and ready to fire at a moment's notice." The global defense network sprang into action as plasma cannons, electromagnetic emitters, and particle beam projectors powered up, their operators poised and ready. Dr. Williams and her team monitored the situation closely, their fingers dancing across the control panels as they coordinated the response. As the Zarthraxian fleet drew closer, Tsiloff gave the order to attack. The alien ships unleashed a devastating barrage, their concentrated firepower focused on the human energy weapon hubs. Powerful electromagnetic pulses swept across the skies, disrupting the delicate electronic systems that powered the defenses. But as the Zarthraxians pressed their assault, they were met with a wall of plasma and particle beam fire that refused to falter. Dr. Williams and her team had anticipated the electromagnetic disruption and had quickly implemented countermeasures to protect the energy weapon network. "They're not getting through," one of the GERI operators shouted, his voice tinged with triumph. "Our systems are holding strong." Tsiloff's eyes widened in shock as he watched his carefully laid plan begin to unravel. The human defenses, bolstered by the ingenuity and resourcefulness of Dr. Williams and her team, refused to be broken. Desperate, the Zarthraxian commander ordered his ships to redouble their efforts, unleashing an even more intense barrage of energy weapons. But with each passing minute, the human energy weapon systems proved more resilient, their targeting and firing capabilities undiminished. As the battle raged on, the skies above Earth were lit up by a dazzling display of plasma, electromagnetic, and particle beam attacks. The Zarthraxians, their confidence and resolve slowly crumbling, realized that they were facing a foe unlike any they had encountered before. As the battle raged on, the Zarthraxians grew increasingly desperate in their attempts to break through the human defenses. Tsiloff, his eyes wild with fury, ordered his forces to concentrate their firepower on the most critical energy weapon hubs, hoping to overwhelm them with sheer force. But Dr. Emily Williams and her GERI team were one step ahead. They had anticipated such a move and had implemented a series of countermeasures to protect the global defense network. Redirect power from the secondary emitters to reinforce the primary systems, Dr. Williams commanded, her voice steady and calm. "We need to maintain a constant, uninterrupted stream of plasma, electromagnetic, and particle beam attacks." The GERI operators swiftly complied, rerouting power and redirecting the flow of energy through the intricate network of defense systems. The human energy weapons continued to unleash a relentless barrage, intercepting the Zarthraxian assault and pushing the alien invaders back. Tsiloff, his frustration boiling over, unleashed a final desperate gambit. He ordered his ships to converge their firepower on a single critical energy weapon hub, hoping to cripple the human defenses with a devastating blow. The Zarthraxian ships unleashed a concentrated salvo of plasma beams, electromagnetic pulses, and particle beam attacks, their combined firepower threatening to overwhelm the targeted defense systems. Dr. Williams and her team watched anxiously as the human systems struggled to hold their ground against the onslaught. "We're losing power to the primary plasma cannon," one of the operators shouted, his voice laced with panic. "The electromagnetic emitters are being pushed to their limits." Dr. Williams gritted her teeth, her mind racing as she assessed the situation. Reroute power from the secondary particle beam projectors to reinforce the plasma and electromagnetic systems. We can't let them break through. The operators complied, their fingers flying across the control panels as they executed the emergency contingency plan. The human energy weapon network faltered for a moment, the loss of the particle beam projectors creating a temporary gap in the defenses. But that gap was quickly filled as the plasma cannons and electromagnetic emitters, now bolstered by the redirected power, unleashed an even more devastating barrage. The Zarthraxian assault, once so threatening, began to crumble under the onslaught. Sealoth watched in disbelief as his ships, one by one, were crippled and disabled by the human energy weapons. His carefully orchestrated plan, the result of countless hours of planning and strategizing, was falling apart before his very eyes. "Impossible," the Zarthraxian commander roared, his clawed hands slamming against the bulkhead. "How can these primitive beings withstand the full might of the Zarthraxian Empire?" Dr. Williams, observing the battle from the GERI command center, allowed herself a small smile. "You underestimated us, Sealoth. This is the power of human ingenuity and determination, something your empire has never experienced before." As the Zarthraxian ships attempted to retreat, they were met with an unrelenting onslaught of plasma, electromagnetic, and particle beam attacks. The human energy weapon network, coordinated by Dr. Williams and her team, refused to let the alien invaders escape. One by one, the Zarthraxian vessels were crippled and disabled, their hulls breached, and their systems rendered inoperable. Sealoth, his once unshakable confidence shattered, could only watch in dismay as his armada was systematically destroyed. With a final desperate attempt at escape, the remaining Zarthraxian ships fired a last volley of energy weapons, hoping to punch a hole through the human defenses. But the GERI team had anticipated this move and had already implemented countermeasures to neutralize the attack. The Zarthraxian barrage was intercepted and deflected, the energy beams ricocheting harmlessly off the reinforced human shielding. Sealoth, his last gambit foiled, could only stare in disbelief as his fleet was forced to retreat, battered and demoralized. As the Zarthraxian ships disappeared into the depths of space, a cheer went up from the people of Earth. The human race had stood firm against the cosmic extortionists, and they had emerged victorious. In the aftermath of the battle, Dr. Williams and her GERI team were hailed as heroes. The world's leaders showered them with accolades and resources, recognizing the crucial role they had played in defending the planet. But for Dr. Williams, the true reward was the knowledge that her work had made a difference, that the energy weapon systems she and her team had developed had saved countless lives. She knew that the battle was far from over, that the Zarthraxians would undoubtedly return with an even greater force, but she was confident that with the continued support and collaboration of the global community, they would be ready. As the cleanup and recovery efforts began, Dr. Williams turned her attention to the next phase of their defense strategy. She knew that they could not simply rely on the existing energy weapon network. They needed to push the boundaries of what was possible, to develop even more advanced and powerful technologies that would give humanity the upper hand in the ongoing conflict. With a determined glint in her eye, Dr. Williams assembled her team and began outlining the next steps in their plan. The Zarthraxians had underestimated the human race, and she was determined to ensure that they would never make that mistake again. The fate of the galaxy now rested on the shoulders of Dr. Emily Williams and her team of brilliant scientists and engineers, who would continue to fight for the future of humanity, one energy-powered victory at a time.